pre-need funerals, burials, or cremation since 1975. Curtis & Son Funeral Home, Sylacauga, Childersburg. Funeral service for Jim Grimes, age 66 of Weguffka, will be Sunday at 2 o'clock from Curtis & Son North, with the Reverend Tommy Thornton officiating. Visitation at the funeral home from noon until 2 on Sunday. Mr. Grimes died Wednesday, February the 16th. In lieu of flowers, donation can be made to the Alzheimer's Association or to the Parkinson's Foundation. Online condolences at curtissonsonfh.com. Curtis & Son Funeral Home, North Chapel, directing. Funeral service for James Douglas Maddox, age 80 of Sylacauga, is today at 2 o'clock from Curtis & Son North, with the Reverend Don Evans officiating. Burial in the Evergreen Memorial Cemetery. Visitation is today 12:30 until 2 o'clock at the funeral home. In lieu of flowers, contributions in James' memory can be made to the Sylacauga Boys Club. Fond memories and expressions of sympathy may be shared at curtissonsonfh.com. Curtis & Son Funeral Home, North Chapel, directing. Visitation for Amy Wesson Parker will be this afternoon at 5 o'clock at Curtis & Son North in Sylacauga. Funeral service will be held on Saturday at Curtis & Son North. That begins at 2 p.m. at the North Chapel of Curtis & Son Funeral Home. The Reverend John Limbaugh will officiate that service. Ms. Wesson died earlier this week, and Ms. Amy Wesson Parker, at the age of 49, Curtis & Son Funeral Home, North Chapel, directing that service. Visitation tonight at the North Chapel from 5 until 8 p.m. Funeral service for Mrs. Ruby Janelle Armbruster, age 79, is today at noon from Talladega Funeral Home. Burial in the Pine Hill Memorial Park, Talladega Funeral Home, directing. Thomas Randall Randy Boozer, age 71 of Talladega, died January the 14th. The family will hold a celebration of life on Saturday from 1 until 3 at Talladega Funeral Home. Brother David Gaither officiating. Talladega Funeral Home, directing. Denise Ragland, age 60 of Talladega, died February the 15th. S.M. Goodson Funeral Home and Crematory, announcing. Private funeral service for Geraldine Kelly will be held today. Community Funeral Home, announcing. The Reverend Manuel Smith III died February the 17th at his residence. Funeral arrangement to be announced by Community Funeral Home. Graveside service for Robert E. Pruitt, age 71 of Alpine, will be Wednesday, February 23rd at 12:30 at Alabama National Cemetery in Montevallo. Brother Joe Teal officiating. Mr. Pruitt died February the 17th at Coosa Valley Medical Center. Visitation Tuesday, 6 p.m. until 8 p.m. at the funeral home. Radley Smith Funeral Home, directing. Funeral service for Annie Thomas will be Saturday at 11 a.m. from Community Funeral Home in Sylacauga. Burial in the Evergreen Cemetery. Visitation today, 1 until 7 at the funeral home. Community Funeral Home, directing. And funeral service for Juanita Fair will be Saturday at 1 o'clock from Vincent Revival Center in Vincent, Alabama. Burial in the Coosa Valley Church Cemetery in Vincent. Visitation today at the funeral home, 1 until 7. Community Funeral Home, directing. Funeral service for Chris Garrett will be Saturday at 2 p.m. from Community Funeral Home Chapel in Sylacauga, with burial in the Kingston Baptist Church Cemetery in Alpine. Visitation today, 1 until 7 at the funeral home. Community Funeral Home, directing. And celebration of life, remembering the life of Ms. Brenda A. Tent Curry, age 67 of Talladega. That will be Saturday at 1 o'clock from S.M. Goodson Funeral Home Chapel, with the Reverend Dr. Henry L. McGee officiating. Interment in the Kidd Street Cemetery. Public viewing today, 3 till 7 at the funeral home. S.M. Goodson Funeral Home and Crematory in Talladega, directing that service. This obituary report brought to you by Curtis & Son Funeral Home, the North Chapel on Highway 21 in Sylacauga, and the Childersburg Chapel on Highway 280 in Childersburg.